Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Money Monday with the Daily Huddle. We've got a great guest with us today that's joining us. Technically lives in St. Louis, but today she's from the Cayman Islands, so super excited for her to actually pop on and be with us today. But before we get started, obviously you know that Zack isn't here, so I get the cheesy joke of the day conversation, right? So, since we're talking about health insurance, today we're going to do a health insurance joke. So, all right, Gail, here we go. 3 people die. A doctor, a school teacher, and the head of a large insurance company. When met at the pearly gates by St. Peter, he asked the doctor, "What did you do on earth?" And the doctor replied, "I healed the sick, and if they couldn't pay for it, I did it for free." And St. Peter said, "You may go in." Right? And then St. Peter asked the teacher, "What did you do on earth?" And she replied, "I taught educationally challenged children." And he said, "Well, you are allowed to go in." Sorry, my phone's blowing up too. So she was allowed to go in. And then St. Peter turned to the third man and said, "What did you do?" And he just hung his head. And he said, "I ran a large insurance company." And St. Peter replied, "You may go in, but you can only stay 3 days."
Yes. Let me tell you.
Cheesy joke of the day.
The frustration of my industry.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today at the Daily Huddle. Today is Money Monday. I'm Kimberly. Zack is absent today, so we're flip-flopping roles. We'll be together again next week, so you'll see us again next week, all together, side by side. But today, I get the pleasure of hosting my good friend Gail Ames. But before we talk about Gail, and before we talk about what she does and all of her amazingness and the education she can bring us, I have some questions for you guys today. So, Andrea, what time is it and what are you grateful for?
The time is now, and I'm grateful for Mondays.
Me too, very much so. Well, thank you for joining us today. Very good to see you. Sorrel, where are you and who will you hug today? Hey, Sorrel. Maybe you, Chase. Are you available? Can you tell me where you are and who you're going to hug today?
I am right here, completely present with your red top self. And I'm going to hug my good friend today that I'm going to see that's going through a couple things. So he'll get a hug from me. He doesn't know it yet, but.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure he'll be super excited. And finally, Harumi, how are you?
Good, thank you, Kimberly. Yes, I am so happy. I feel so great because this is a new month, October 2023. So I'm so happy. I just hugged myself.
There you go. Awesome. Thanks for reminding me it's a new month. I got a text message this morning that said it's October 2nd, and I couldn't believe it. It's kind of crazy. So well, thank you guys all for joining us today. Gail is, she lives in St. Louis, so she's on Central Time, but she's traveling in the Grand Caymans today. So she still wanted to be our guest and said, "No, I'm going to do it. I want to tell people about this business." Perfect timing because open enrollment's coming up. So everybody's thinking about health insurance and what should I do. But our question today is how to help your clients get the most out of their health insurance. So let me tell you a little bit about Gail. First of all, I've known Gail for at least 20 years. So super amazing lady. And you guys will be so impressed. She is a health insurance broker and she's licensed in all 50 states. So if you need health insurance, you can easily contact her. She conducts enrollments on a national level by consulting with individuals or business owners to structure a benefit package benefits package that suits them best. She has a background of working on insurance claims from beginning to end. She started in the industry in 1994 with a medical billing company as a certified procedural coder. She procedure and diagnose coded claims for providers, set up prior authorizations, and provider credentialing into multiple networks like UHC, Aetna, Anthem, BCBS, Cigna, etc. So, Gail, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for giving us a few minutes on your vacation to educate us. So tell us, how can we get the most out of our health insurance? Tell us what we need to know.
There are so many things, and I do count myself very fortunate to have that whole claims experience, because for, working in the health insurance industry, I prefer working on this side of the equation, setting people up so that they have the best coverage, rather than helping the providers get paid, which is a necessary thing also. We want our doctors to be able to provide that great service, but, at the time of a claim is too late, obviously. So on this side of the equation where, I can meet with people, and business owners, making sure they're comfortably protected, within their budget, is a priority. As far as, just to kind of give you a couple of examples over the years, I've got a client, they've been my client for about 2 or 3 years now. I met her through this, it was another broker out of Arizona. She was working for her employer. The employers typically only cover 50% of the employees' costs for health insurance when they provide a group plan.
Right.
Nothing for spouses and dependents. So they're in Ohio. It was a family of 4. And for her whole family to be on that plan, it was going to cost over $1,000 a month for the whole family. So what we did, her husband has a military background. So what I encouraged her to do, that if I'm in your shoes, you take your employer sponsored plan, because that's going to cover 50%. It's a pre-tax benefit for her premiums. The husband went on TRICARE, because he had that military background. And then we put the children on a standalone independent plan. They cost less than $200 a month, because the kids they're young, they're healthy, now if they had some pre-existing conditions, then we would have gone a different direction. But it saved them hundreds of dollars a month. I don't even remember how much we saved them at that time, because now, 2-3 years later, of course, they're still my clients, but it's been thousands of dollars on an annual basis. So if you could save your clients $600 a month, they can put that elsewhere. Obviously, there's some life insurance, as you all know, with Hedgeman Group, all kinds of products we could put them into where they're lacking, like in the life insurance.
So I think it's interesting from the health insurance perspective, because obviously being a health insurance broker, I think in my mind, you think about it either as an employee. I'm an employee and my employer offers me health insurance, so these are my choices, or I'm an entrepreneur, right? And I've got to find health insurance on my own. So in my mind, I just thought employer sponsored health insurance is, if you had the ability to get it, that's what you would choose. But you're saying it's still advantageous to speak to you or an independent broker and review your options, because maybe it's best for you, but not your entire family. And there might be other pieces that you, being from the industry, can teach them and show them. And
correct. Yeah, because a lot of people think that those are their only options. Either we take the, the husbands or the spouses and, employer sponsored plan, or we go to the marketplace. There's so many more options out there, and it all comes down to pre-existing conditions and their providers, making sure that we pick a network their providers are participating in. So yeah, you can absolutely separate the family into different plans so that it's far more affordable on a monthly basis. Because employer sponsored plans, yeah, they're great. It's traditional major medical, it's good health insurance, but it's not cheap. And there are some other options out there that may be just as good, far less expensive, and great networks, great coverage. Another example, a friend of mine that I grew up with, he is a contractor, and had been in with his union for years, and then decided he wanted to go out on his own, be his own independent, like we are.
He's on boss, be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So it's he and his 2 young adult sons, 19 and 22 years old. So they can be on their parents' coverage up to the age of 26. And, you know, he was just like, I'm paying a little over $1,000 a month for health insurance for myself and my 2 boys. So little strategies, right? So he needed something to start October 1st. So I ran some numbers for him, and I came up with something that was in the I want to say it was around $860 a month is what I was coming up with. So that was definitely better. However, I learned that if I started his plan September 30th, a day sooner, because these insurance carriers do rate increases, right? By starting him a day earlier, I saved him another $150 a month. So his rates ended up being like $623 and some change a month compared to the $1,000. And that was for health insurance, an accidental rider, because he's a big mountain biker. You know, he and his kids, they're active. You know, they're fishing, they're mountain biking, you know, they're, you know, hey, sometimes you take a spill on a bike, you get a broken collarbone or something. So we did the health insurance we just did a $5,000 deductible, then covered at 100% if he were to meet that deductible. The accidental rider covers all but $250 of his deductible if any one of them gets injured. And then dental, we did dental too. You know, and that was $623 versus the 1,000 plus that he was paying. So he was pretty happy.
I'm sure that he was pretty happy. And you're right, like being able to find that money in the budget allows them to do other things, whether it's pay off their debt, whether it's fund their retirement, whether it's buy life insurance, whether it's send their kids to a sports camp, whatever. It gives them more money that they can then put back in their budget. Tell
100%.
me, right now is open enrollment, or it's coming up, right? So tell us what that means. Tell us that part of the world, and what are the rules? How does that work?
So open enrollment goes from, every state's a little bit different. Most states though, it starts November 1st and goes through December 15th for a January 1st effective date. You can enroll December 16th through January 15th for a February 1 effective date. So somebody misses the cutoff, they could still enroll for a February 1 effective date. Obviously you don't ever want to have a lapse in coverage, but it happens sometimes. So what that means for marketplace plans, I hate to say it, but they're not quite as affordable as what the Affordable Care Act would like to imply, unless you qualify for significant subsidy. So if you make, like, we'll say less than 50 grand as an individual, if you make 40 something thousand or less, you will qualify for some sort of subsidy. But if you make more than that, which is a lot of people, a lot of my clients, you don't qualify for a subsidy. The deductibles are $9,100. They haven't released all the details for the new plans coming up, but they will soon. So that's what the way they are for 2023, $9,100 max out of pocket and deductible. But yeah, ACA plans are good for about 20% of the population. The people that have some significant pre-existing conditions can qualify for a subsidy. If you're relatively healthy, there are other options. There are so many other options out there that are far more affordable, especially if you don't qualify for a subsidy, and great coverage, great networks, national PPO networks, where if you go skiing in Colorado or to the beach in the Cayman Islands.
I was gonna say, where are you?
No, actually, it's you would need, for Cayman Islands, you would need international coverage, which I could help you with that too. But if you go to the beach in Florida or somewhere like that, you can find a participating network provider and be considered in network. Where with marketplace plans, those are very regional, very narrow networks, and they're more limited, like to your state or to your region. What I've unfortunately been seeing with some clients is that their doctors are ceasing to participate in marketplace networks.
Wow.
And what people need to understand, like in the state of Missouri, we have United Healthcare and Anthem, marketplace plans. Everybody's familiar with those, Cigna even. Everybody's familiar with those networks. It's not Cigna or United Healthcare National PPO network. It's Cigna Marketplace Network. And in Missouri, the United Healthcare Marketplace Network is going to be different than the United Healthcare Marketplace Network in Georgia. or any other state for that matter. So they're more regional networks, and that's what people don't realize. They think, well, I've got a marketplace plan, I've got United Healthcare, and they think if they go to Colorado and go skiing and break something that they have
Through United Healthcare.
yeah, that they have they can find a participating provider, you are considered out of network.
So two things I want to talk about. So let's kind of recap again. Who are marketplace plans best for?
Mm-hmm. They're best for people that have significant pre-existing conditions. You know, there are multiple plans out there. Some have more, you know, they're more underwritten. They have more health related questions than other plans.
Mhm.
Some have very few. You know, are you pregnant or expecting a baby? Male or female, doesn't matter. If you're male and you're expecting a baby, then you can't qualify for some of these plans. Are you, you know, do you have AIDS or HIV? Another one, you know, the health question is pretty significant things like COPD, MS, cancer. You know, if you have those types of things, you won't qualify. You know, they're pretty significant things. And then the last question is, do you have any pending tests coming up, or have you been recommended for some treatment that you has been like undiagnosed, like they're trying to figure out something that might be going on with you. If you can say no to all of those questions, no, I'm not expecting a baby, no, I don't have AIDS or HIV, I know I don't have COPD or cancer, or a few other things, then if you can say no to all those questions, then you would qualify. You know, it's some very, very few health questions on those plans, and they're great coverage, and they're oftentimes far more affordable than marketplace. So, but if somebody has pre-existing conditions, they or their family member, you know, might need a marketplace plan, even if they pay full price. Number one concern is covering those pre-existing conditions.
Right. Tell me about subsidies. Explain that to me. I think in my world, especially when marketplace plans first came out and people got the subsidies and they had all this cheap insurance and they were so excited about it, and then the next year they had a tax bill. Explain subsidies, but also make sure that you explain that it's considered income, because I'd really like that to be part of this conversation.
Yeah. So if you do qualify for a subsidy, so let's say, you know, if you make $40,000 a year, and you know, you go to apply for the marketplace, the full price of the plan might be $600, you know, for, you know, a 40 or 50-year-old 40-year-old. And if you qualify for a subsidy, that's considered a tax credit. Excuse me. So if you end up making more, so especially for 1099 people, you know, if you put in, you know, on your application that you make 40 grand a year, but at the end of the year you make 60, well, they gave you a tax credit based upon your income at 40,000. So if you end up making more, then you won't lose your coverage. It's just now you're going to have a bigger tax bill because you made more money, and they should have given you the subsidy based on 60,000 rather than 40,000. So
that would be considered some sort of income somehow on your tax return, right?
Right.
So
yeah, you'll be deep on your taxes for sure.
So in just a minute, I'm going to open it up because I know we have a lot of people on here that probably have questions, because health insurance always brings lots of questions. What is, obviously as an entrepreneur, especially self-employed individual, not part of an organization, anything like that, then obviously they need to call you or someone like you to ask questions about what insurance options are there. Is it best to shop it every year or no?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always good to do a review. A lot of times I'll set my clients up on their 3-year plans. So, and here's why. Our politicians, I will never tell anyone how to vote, but our politicians are going through making some changes to these individual plans so that deductibles reset every 3 months or every 6 months. You're never going to meet your deductible. And if you do meet your deductible and your deductible resets, you have to go to a different carrier.
Oh,
I mean, they're trying to make some changes they've done this before during the Obama administration. Things got better. You know, the whole tax penalty went away during the past administration. So the tax penalty went away, so people didn't have to worry about that. But now here we are again, and our politicians are about to vote on making those changes again, where deductibles reset every 3 months or 6 months, and it's only going to hurt the consumer. So right now I always set my clients up on 3-year plans, so that if on it they have a plan year, not a calendar year deductible. So if their plan starts October 1st, their 1 year will go through September 30th. Every year, their rates can and probably will go up a little bit. However, their plan will renew, you know, for 3 more years. So I'm hoping that if they do make those changes, that we'll have a couple years, they'll be safe in their plan, you know, because they're contractually obligated
Let
to
it settle out.
Yep, exactly. So that, you know, hopefully, and if they do make those changes in the next 2-3 years with the new election coming up, that, you know, they'll straighten them out again. So, yeah. So
Well,
that's,
all these interesting pieces, and guys, so I want to open it up to questions, because I'm sure that there are plenty of them, but I think that's why it's always important to speak to an independent agent like Gail is in the health insurance space, like we are in the financial space, because they aren't beholden to one company, right? So you have so many different choices and so many different options, and you know, they do know all the inner workings that are kind of moving around all around them. So what questions do we have this morning? We only have a couple of minutes left, and then she can go back on her amazing little Grand Cayman vacation. But what questions do you guys have? And I can't, we're still on, you know, I can't see the whole panel. So if you have some, just unmute yourself and ask. And I'm going to type Gail's name in the chat as we do. And Gail, your email is games at hst.com.
At myhst.com. And here's one thing I do want to say: if you guys do, you know, interview a broker, you know, in your area, make sure you ask them if they do do they only do marketplace plans, or do they do, you know, individual plans outside of marketplace? You know, what all are the options, you know, that they have that they can enroll their clients in? Because some brokers only do marketplace plans. I don't get it, but yeah, it's very interesting.
But yeah, that's good to know too. And good questions to ask, very much so. Do you guys have any questions? You're awfully quiet today on this Health Insurance Monday. Hey, Gio.
Hi. Thank you, Gail, for being here. It's so great. I wanted to ask you, maybe you mentioned it and I missed it, that a lot of folks know how to go to do their enrollment themselves at the marketplace website. Is there a website outside of the marketplace that people can go on their own and look, or you have to go through a broker?
No, I mean, they could. I mean, I think from a customer perspective, they could go to the different carriers, but they're basically going to be redirected to, their information is going to be sold. You know, their information is going to be sold, and you know, if they go to, say, United Healthcare, they're going to have brokers just like myself all across the country blowing up their phone, their text, their email. So they can, but you know, I think it's best just to find somebody, you know, that you know, like, and trust, that's going to do, you know, that's going to take care of them and know all of their options. Marketplace plans aren't bad if it's, you know, right for that person or that family, but there's a lot of gaps, you know, so to be able to bundle those things with a hospital indemnity plan that helps with if they get admitted to the hospital or have an outpatient surgery or some diagnostic test or an accidental rider or the dental and vision, you know, so it's putting that whole bundle together that, you know, best serves your client or a business, you know. Like there was a little physical therapy practice that I enrolled here just recently, and they had one group health insurance plan. I moved into a different one, bundled that with a hospital indemnity plan and some voluntary benefits, you know, like the dental and the vision, short-term disability, things like that. And from what I understand, the business owner said it saved them about $30,000 a year. So just putting together the right package for them. And yeah, so that's $30,000 that business owner could invest somewhere else.
That's
Got it.
awesome.
Thank you.
Ron, I see your hand raised. Good morning. Good morning. What questions do you have for us? You're muted.
Good morning. Good morning, Kim. I do owe you a phone call. I
You
apologize.
do owe me a
Yeah.
phone call.
Yes, I'm coming to you soon.
Okay, I'm
But
waiting.
Gail, one
Yes.
thing I'm always baffled about is the high cost of copays. How do you avoid, I mean, not so much avoid it, but it feels like it's always a stun, when you finish your exam and then you walk in, it's like $50 copay, and then you're paying an insurance for so much money. I mean, how do you, I guess, go around that copay or not, or don't get stunned by the copay somehow? Because it's
Right.
always
Well, I mean,
crazy after the exam.
yeah, copays aren't necessarily, a bad thing. So say that with a $50 copay, there's a hospital indemnity plan that sometimes I will bundle my clients with, with their health insurance, where if they do go for a doctor's office visit, it might be limited to 2 or 4 a year, but the supplemental plan will pay $75 towards that office visit. So if they have a $50 copay, the supplemental plan pays $75 for that office visit, then they actually come out a little bit ahead. I can give you an example. My boyfriend actually, he with his health insurance has a $100 copay for urgent care. My bonus daughter was chipping off some acrylic fingernail polish, and it went into her eye, and she scratched her cornea. So she went to the urgent care. Her eye was all red and puffy, and they gave her some eye drops and everything. I have them bundled with an accidental plan that paid $125 for that treatment. So she went and got treated. They had a $100 copay for the urgent care, but the accidental plan paid $125.
So they got
Exactly.
So they made $25 on their doctor's visit. I think all of these questions and all of these examples are amazing. You guys know we're at the end of our day today, so I'm going to wrap things up. I did put Gail's information in the chat. So her name's Gail Ames. It's also on our Facebook page. Her email is games@myhst.com. Not because she plays games, because that's her name.
That's my name.
It's kind of a cool, trendy little thing to remember. But she's amazing, and I trust her very, very, very much. And remember that there's no cost to talk to her. So if you have a question, or you want to review your coverage, or you want to see what your choices are, if the marketplace is best for you, she'll tell you. I know that she will. So make sure if you have those questions to reach out to her. But, and Gail, thank you so much for joining us from your vacation today. And I know Central Time versus Eastern Time, it gets a little crazy between the two of us, but it all worked out. Yeah. And I think it was definitely value delivered today. So I want to remind you guys as we sign off this morning about our 8 tenets that we close every meeting with. So number 1 is love. 2, laugh out loud. 3, stress less. Number 4 is eat mostly plant-based. 5 is give. 6 is sleep. 7 is move, and 8 is check yourself before you wreck yourself. So with that, guys, we'll see you tomorrow morning, same time, same place on the Daily Huddle. And thank you so much for joining us. And Gail, thanks again so much. Now you can enjoy your vacation.
For being a couple minutes late, and
you
so
look beautiful.
Have a great. Thank you so much. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.